Torrential rains continue to batter the central region of the country, resulting in at least 4 fatalities and forcing residents to evacuate their homes. Additional heavy downpours are forecast nationwide through the end of the week. Foreign Minister nominee Eugenes said during his confirmation hearing on Thursday that a tariff could be sealed before the Trump administration's August 1st deadline. And the nominees for finance and industry ministers lay out their plans to reboot the country's economy and its future growth. In commemoration of the 77th anniversary of Constitution Day, the Nat'l Assembly has unveiled a monument symbolizing its commitment to upholding democratic principles. The occasion also reignites discussions on the need for constitutional reform. We begin with updates on the torrential downpours that are sweeping across the country. Without further ado, we connect with our Moon Hae-ryun on the line. Hae-ryun, give us the updates on the latest casualties and also damage caused by the heavy rain.
Right, Tammy. So relentless downpours are wreaking havoc across South Korea, leading to multiple fatalities, widespread evacuations, and growing concern in flood-prone regions. At least 4 people have died. In Osan, a wall collapsed onto a passing car, killing the driver, and in Seosan and Tangjin, 3 people died as roads and homes were flooded. A number of injuries, too, have been recorded as a result of landslides in Chungcheongnam-do province. The Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters reported that over 1,000 people have been evacuated from their homes in low-lying and landslide-prone areas as of this morning. But local governments in the central and southern regions of the country have been issuing evacuation advisories throughout the day. Overflowing rivers, for example, have led to residents in Gwangju evacuating their homes this evening. The rain has also led to major disruptions in travel, including train and flight services. Korea Railroad suspended all train operations between Gwangju Songjiang Station and Mokpo Station on the Honam Line this afternoon, as well as regular train services across other major lines throughout the day. Several flights have been cancelled at Jeju Airport and several highways have been closed across the country. Authorities are urging drivers to use alternate routes and check traffic updates in advance.
Hae-ryun, this is a nationwide emergency. Now, what have been the responses from the government and the weather agency in light of the situation?
So as of 7:30 p.m., the Korea Meteorological Administration issued heavy rain warnings to 7 provinces and metropolitan cities and advisories to 14. And this is why the CDSCH saw fit to issue a Level 3 emergency response earlier this evening for the first time in nearly 2 years. This is the highest level of disaster response in South Korea's national emergency system for heavy rain and means that all available manpower and equipment are mobilized as a result. Interior Ministry officials have said the top priority is minimizing casualties as up to 300 millimeters more rain could fall in the coming days. Local authorities have been advised to issue evacuation orders where needed, with the central government promising full support for resident protection and shelter costs. The Education Ministry has also activated its emergency task force in order to monitor the situation, with 667 schools nationwide choosing to close, shorten school hours, or transition to remote learning for the day.
Right, Hae-ryun, now you said that we could be looking at 300 millimeters of more rain. Could you expand on that and give us the outlook for tonight and also in the coming days?
That's right, Tommy. So heavy rainfall is expected tonight in the central and southern regions, with around 50 to 80 millimeters of rain expected to fall per hour. So this includes regions such as the Chungcheong-do provinces, which were hit particularly hard last night, as well as the Jeollado and Gyeongsang-do provinces, which have been seeing heavy rain this evening. For some context, 50 to 80 millimeters of rain per hour is considered extremely dangerous, especially if it lasts more than a short while. Think of a torrential downpour that makes it nearly impossible to walk or drive through the streets. And as of now, it looks as though these areas can expect downpours at varying intensities until Saturday. The capital region is also expected to see some heavy rain until tomorrow morning before it eases up into something lighter starting tomorrow evening. And that's all I have on the rain for now, so back to you, Tammy.
All right, Hae-ryun, thank you for the coverage. And President Lee Jae Myung has also ordered an all-out response to the heavy rain. At a weekly meeting with his top aides on Thursday, the president called for safety inspections at high-risk areas, including underpasses, underground parking lots, and retaining walls.
이미 인명 피해가 발생하고 있는 것 같고 또 일부 침수 피해도 지금 보고되고 있습니다. 국민의 생명을 지키는 일에 작은 실수도 용납되지 않는다라는 점을 명확하게 말씀드립니다.
Stressing that the state's top duty is to protect its people. The president also urged swift investigations into recent workplace deaths, strict accountability for those responsible, and stronger support for those falling through the cracks of the welfare system. And marking Constitution Day, he proposed reinstating as a public holiday, calling it a chance to reflect on the spirit of popular sovereignty. Now, the recent heavy rainfall and rapid flooding pose a heightened risk of unexpected accidents. Here's our Kim Bo-kyung with important safety guidelines.
With the monsoon season back, there have already been a series of vehicle flooding accidents. When one is trapped inside a submerged car, what would be the best survival tips? Trying to open the door right away might be hard due to the pressure difference. In this case, wait for the water inside the car to rise to the same level as the outside, as once the pressure equalizes, the door gets much easier to open. If the situation is too urgent, break the window using either an emergency hammer or the headrest of the seat. It is important to strike the upper part and the edges of the window so as not to get hurt by the broken glass. But what's best if water starts filling up inside?
The most important thing is to abandon the car and escape quickly if water starts rising inside the vehicle.
Heavy rain is often accompanied by lightning strikes, which can lead to serious injuries or even death. If thunder is heard within 30 seconds of a lightning flash, one needs to seek shelter immediately, as it indicates the lightning struck nearby. Wait at least 30 minutes after the last sound of thunder before going back outside. One needs to avoid holding long metal objects that can attract lightning and should not stay under trees or outdoor pavilions as they cannot block lightning. It is safer to stay inside a building or a car. High humidity during rainy season can significantly increase the risk of electrical leakage accidents. Thus, the Korea Electrical Safety Corporation recommends testing home circuit breakers in advance to ensure they function properly. Press the test button next to the breaker, and if the electricity cuts off when the button is pressed, it means it is working well. Avoiding electrical facilities in flooded areas is a must, and appliances should only be reconnected when they are completely dry. Lastly, unplugging devices at home could also be a way to prevent electrical hazards. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Day 4 of confirmation hearings for the Lee Jae Myung administration's inaugural cabinet picks took place today, where the nominees' visions and plans are largely centered on security, diplomacy, and the economy. Our Kim Jong-sil has the latest.
Foreign Minister nominee Cho Yeon expressed confidence that an agreement on U.S. tariffs could be reached before the August 1st deadline set by President Donald Trump. When asked at Thursday's confirmation hearing whether the negotiations could conclude in such a short time, Cho said this.
It seems possible, though it's hard to predict. We are putting in our utmost efforts, and from the U.S. perspective, South Korea is not only a very important ally, but also a key trading partner, so I believe they will prioritize negotiations with us.
Cho also highlighted the potential for both countries to turn the crisis into a win-win opportunity by leveraging South Korea's strengths. If appointed, he pledged to visit the U.S. as early as next week to help finalize the crucial negotiations. Moving to security, Cho was asked whether North Korea remains South Korea's primary enemy.
North Korea is an urgent and existential threat, but it is also a necessary partner in dialogue for peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula.
Cho emphasized the importance of close cooperation with the U.S. to ease tensions with North Korea and create opportunities for dialogue. He also outlined plans to strengthen trilateral cooperation with the U.S. and Japan while encouraging constructive roles from China and Russia. Meanwhile, confirmation hearings for key economic positions also took place. The finance minister nominee Chol highlighted rising inflation, declining household incomes, and worsening external factors, stressing the decline in growth potential. He vowed to lead economic reforms to boost South Korea's future growth. Industry Minister nominee Kim Jong-un outlined plans to boost exports and investments, emphasizing trade policies to strengthen the national interest, especially in response to U.S. tariffs, and expanding global trade networks through agreements and APEC summits. As hearings continue, focus remains on how nominees' policies will shape South Korea's security and economy. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae Myung has appointed Park Yong-man, a former chairman of the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to lead his special envoys to the U.S. A senior secretary for political affairs, Woo Sang-ho, told reporters Thursday that the three-member delegation will be made up of Park, along with ruling Democratic Party lawmakers Han Jun-ho and Kim Woo-young. Woo noted that the envoys are not being sent to address a specific issue, but rather to explain the changes in South Korea since President Lee took office. Now, their departure date has not yet been decided. This week, the president dispatched envoys to the EU headquarters in Brussels, France, the UK, and India. Today, July 17th, marks the 77th anniversary of Constitution Day here in South Korea. The National Assembly took the time to reflect on the true ideas of democracy and the power of Constitution. Our political correspondent, Shin Ha-young, tells us more.
The National Assembly of the Republic of Korea, the last bastion of democracy, are the words engraved on a monument unveiled on Thursday on the front lawn of the National Assembly, marking the 77th anniversary of the first proclamation of the Constitution. On the back, it commemorates the day the Assembly with the people blocked martial law troops, ending the decree's implementation and reaffirming its commitment to protect the people and strengthen democracy. Beneath the monument lies a National Assembly time capsule buried to mark the 77th Constitution Day, and it contains items that reflect the spirit of the times and will be opened 100 years later on July 17, 2125. The items include legislative and policy reports, notable bills, Dokdo-related publications, photos of the Assembly, a backup gavel, and messages from lawmakers and staff to future generations. South Korea's constitution was promulgated in 1948 based on open democracy. It was last revised in 1987 after decades of authoritarian rule. To celebrate the anniversary, the National Assembly held a special ceremony on Thursday where Speaker Woo Won-sik highlighted the power of the Constitution.
This is the first Constitution Day since the December 3rd martial law declaration. In Korea, the people protect the Constitution, and the Constitution protects them. That's why the Constitution is powerful, and Korea is strong.
Woo also called for constitutional reform, saying this was needed to meet today's needs and to build a stronger democracy and improve people's lives. He floated the idea of a constitutional referendum alongside the presidential election back in April in order to address calls for decentralization of power following the martial law declaration, but withdrew this after a backlash.
We need to act before it's too late. Rather than a full reform, we should begin with small, gradual amendments that the National Assembly, government, and people can all agree on.
Posting on Facebook, President Lee Jae Myung called for a discussion on constitutional reform and urged the National Assembly to lead the process, pledging to work alongside the legislature to reflect the will of the people. Meanwhile, following several recently proposed bills to reinstate Constitution Day as a public holiday, attention is on whether it will become a national holiday again for the first time since 2007. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
An almost a decade-long court battle against the executive chairman of Samsung Electronics has come to an end today, with the Supreme Court freeing Lee Jae Myung of all legal troubles. Our business correspondent Kim Do-yeon has more.
After nearly a decade of legal battles, Samsung Electronics executive chairman Lee Jae Myung is now officially free of all charges. On Thursday, South Korea's Supreme Court upheld a lower court ruling acquitting the Samsung chairman of fraud and market manipulation. The case entered on a controversial 2015 merger between Samsung C&T and JL Industries, a deal that helped Lee cement control over Samsung Electronics despite not owning direct shares. The merger came as Lee was in the midst of inheriting leadership from his now-late father, Eugenes. Prosecutors argued the merger unfairly favored JL, where Lee was the largest shareholder. But the top court ruled there was insufficient evidence that the deal or the related accounting practices violated the law. Lee's legal woes began in 2016 with a bribery case linked to former impeached President Park Geun-hye. He served a total of 18 months in prison over the course of 4 years until 2021 and was barred from holding an official role at Samsung for 5 years following his release from prison. That ban was lifted early after a presidential pardon in 2022 by then-President Yoon Suk-yeol, paving the way for his formal return to Samsung leadership. Despite rejoining the company, Lee remained entangled in the ongoing merger case, making frequent court appearances. His legal team celebrated an appeals court acquittal in February 2025 and famously left this comment.
I hope this decision leads to the defendant returning and concentrating on their work.
Lee's freedom from legal issues comes as Samsung Electronics has recently faced mounting headwinds. Its operating profit for the second quarter was slashed in half year-on-year, dragged down by weakness in its key semiconductor business, which accounts for more than half of total profits. Pundits say the legal issues didn't help and kept the company as a whole from making risky and bold decisions.
But it's a little bit hard to get in the front line with legal issues going on. So I think that this gives a great signal, both to the market and within Samsung, that Samsung will excel their AI and semiconductor strategies.
But now at least the man at the top is no longer looking over his shoulder, and that may mark a turning point for South Korea's biggest conglomerate. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
In other news, last month, South Korea's automobile exports marked a record high for any June, buoyed by regional gains and an EV rebound amid U.S. tariffs. Our Moon Ji-young tells us more.
South Korea's auto exports rose from a year earlier in June as a surge in shipments to Europe and Asia more than offset a decline in shipments to the U.S. caused by U.S. tariffs. According to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy on Thursday, the country's auto exports came to $6.34 billion in June, up more than 2% year-on-year. This performance marks a record high for any June. By region, exports to the U.S. dropped for the fourth consecutive month, falling 16%. Conversely, European Union shipments surged more than 32%, and Asia also saw growth of more than 35%. These strong gains partly offset the decline in exports to the U.S. Notable growth was seen particularly in Germany and the Netherlands, where exports nearly doubled. The ministry attributed the growth to a base effect from sluggish exports in the same month last year, along with strong electric vehicle exports, among other factors. Outbound shipments of EVs saw their first growth in 16 months, rising more than 11% year-on-year. Exports of eco-friendly cars amounted to $2.2 billion, up over 18% from a year earlier. Regarding the outlook for the auto industry in the second half of this year, a ministry official said,
Measuring the outlook for the second half presents numerous uncertainties. Among potential downsides should phenomena like a demand pull-forward effect in the U.S. occur. the latter half of the year could face a slight downturn. Conversely, factors that could lead to an improvement include the resolution of global uncertainties stemming from tariff negotiations, or a further expansion of electric vehicle exports to Europe. These could, in fact, serve as positive influences.
Meanwhile, domestic production remained flat at over 353,000 vehicles. More than 72,000 eco-friendly cars were sold in South Korea in June, up 36% from a year earlier. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News.
South Korean cosmetics, widely known as K-beauty products, have been topping the to-buy list of foreign tourists visiting the country. And newly released figures underscore the growing global appeal of Korean beauty brands. For more, we turn to our correspondent Park Junan here in studio. Welcome, Junan.
Thanks for having me, Tommy.
So, Junan, Korean beauty products have been popular for quite some time, and I am also a loyal consumer of K-beauty brands, not because I'm Korean, but how popular really are they among foreigners?
Yeah, actually, just yesterday I went to Myeongdong, one of the most popular areas for foreign visitors. And there, I could spot people from all over the world shopping for Korean beauty products. They told me that K-beauty products are well known in their countries, and they're happy to buy them at a lower price than they would at home. Let's take a listen to what tourists had to say about their K-beauty shopping experience in Korea.
I heard it by social medias and friends. We have a lot of channels in France that talk about this. So every French person wants to try because it works. So yeah, it's my first time. I never tried it, so I will try and see. We found out, well, through TV. I think it is well known that Korean beauty products are very good. And also friends and family who told us, oh, you're going to Korea, so can you bring me this or that, this product? Because they know that you are very famous for that.
Well, now we know how popular K-beauty products are around the world, but what makes them stand out among many other brands around the world? I mean, what makes them so special?
Right, you actually made a great point, Tommy. So when I asked about what makes Korean cosmetics so special, one of the industry experts told me that they are technologically advanced for their price and are creative in product development. Let's take a listen.
Cosmetics companies in South Korea are so technologically advanced and cost-effective that last year we became the third largest exporter in the world. They're incredibly creative and great at coming up with new products, which is why they're receiving this kind of attention around the world.
Another claim made by the same industry expert is that cultural exposure and influence, such as through K-pop and K-drama figures, are attracting potential consumers to buy K-beauty products.
As K-dramas and K-pop have become more popular, people around the world are seeing more of Korean people's skin. I think that has contributed to a perception that Koreans have great skin because they use Korean cosmetics. Most of the products are now vegan, and there are also many functional patents behind them.
Well, they are affordable and they do really work great on our skin, I do have to say. Now, no wonder why K-beauty products hit a record high exports in the first half of 2025 this year. Tell us more about the figures.
Sure, Tammy. So the growth of South Korea's beauty product exports is surging at a dramatic pace, backed by record figures. According to the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety, South Korea exported cosmetics to 176 countries in the first half of 2025. Reaching a total of $5.51 billion, a 14.8% increase from the same period last year. By country, China, the United States, and Japan were the top three importers, accounting for 48.1% of total exports. Although China saw an over 10% year-on-year decrease in export value, it still ranked as the #1 importer. The United States and Japan, however, saw remarkable increases of over 17% and 15% respectively. From 2012 to 2024, South Korea's cosmetics exports surged by over 850%, showing a strong annual year-on-year growth trend. And if the current pace continues, 2025 could mark yet another historic high, hopefully surpassing the $11 billion mark.
Well, hopes are high, and K-Beauty is remarkably doing well, but I'm sure there's still room for improvement and even maybe concerns within the industry about future challenges. Are there any?
That's right, Tammy. Actually, there are some concerns. Well, although our cosmetics industry is performing very well, there are some concerns that remain, such as regulatory challenges, any possible increases in prices due to the 25% U.S. reciprocal tariffs. Now, let's take a listen to what a professor of the beauty industry had to say.
The government's R&D expenditure is too small compared to the increasing sales and exports of the cosmetics industry. All industries in Korea face difficulties without government support, and I think the industry can grow much more if it is supported.
Also, another industry expert raised concerns about factors that might increase product prices.
Concerns over tariffs essentially come down to pricing. Since each individual ingredient must undergo safety testing, the overall cost naturally increases. As a result, cosmetic prices inevitably rise. Rather than simply easing regulations, I believe we need to explore ways to simplify the safety assessment process while still ensuring product safety.
With rising demand from all over the world, K-beauty is now not just a trend, it's a new culture.
All right, Jana, thank you for that thorough coverage tonight. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Dami. I hope to see you soon.
It has been raining a lot, mainly in the central parts of the country and the Jeollado provinces since yesterday. Heavy rain warnings are in place in the Chungcheongdo, Jeollanam-do, Gyeongsang-nam-do provinces. Heavy rain advisories have been issued in most parts of the country. 150 millimeters or more of rain is expected in southern Gyeonggi-do province, Chungcheong-nam-do province, Daejeon and Sejong, and western Jeollabuk-do province, up to 120 or more in inland areas of Gangwon-do and Chungcheongbuk-do provinces, and 30 to 100 millimeters in the Seoul metropolitan area. Please be thoroughly prepared for torrential rain until Saturday. Tomorrow morning, Seoul will start off at 24 degrees Celsius, Chuncheon at 23 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 28 to 30 degrees across the country. This heavy rain is expected by the end of this week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. For all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.